calling all Kingdom women entrepreneurs, the vision builders, the boundary breakers, and the passion igniters who know they're called and anointed to impact positive change for the Kingdom through your business.
A business that honors and serves God. Welcome to Kingdom Women Entrepreneurs Podcast.
This is your host, Fidelis Cruz.
And I'm Anne-Marie Cross. Now, onto the show. So Fiz, we've got a special, we'll call it an announcement, because in upcoming podcast episodes, it's not just you and I who are co-hosting the podcast, but someone else that's been a very special person who's probably already very well known within the KWE community. But we thought that we would just record this to introduce this person, and you're going to share who that is in a moment. And hopefully in an upcoming episode, we can do an interview with her and unpack a little bit more about who she is and that too on a later podcast. So who is the other person that is going to be co-hosting the Kingdom Women Entrepreneurs podcast with us?
Wow. Thanks, Anne-Marie. Well, you know what, guys, we're so excited to have the beautiful Brenda Siosis join us as our co-host for KWE podcast. She's incredible. You might already know her through our community, Kingdom Women Entrepreneurs. She's been with us for many years, actually, I think just under 10 years that we've been together, and she's been, a member of our community, but also a great coach and a mentor. She is just a beautiful soul who loves Jesus, and she's really great at communicating. So you'll really enjoy having her at our podcast, and when we do these interviews together, obviously sharing her insights and her wisdom as well with the many years that she's had, her experience with coaching and mentorship as well. She's also a beautiful artist, Christian artist. So she's got amazing creativity where she's sharing that gifts and the talents through her business at the moment as well.
So without any further ado, let's get on with the show.
Well, today we have the absolute honor of welcoming an incredible Kingdom leader, Colin Lee. So excited. Welcome, Colin. Colin is the founder and CEO of Inspire Realty, an award-winning property advisory firm where he has helped hundreds of individuals and families build wealth and step into financial stewardship through strategic property investment. He is also the founder of the Kingdom Entrepreneurs Network, a powerful faith-driven community equipping Christian business owners to see their marketplace as ministry and to lead with purpose, boldness, and biblical conviction. And here's my favorite part. Colin was actually our winner for Kingdom Leader of the Year award last year at Australian Christian Business Awards. Woohoo! This is an incredible award because this recognizes individuals who exemplify servant leadership, faithful obedience, and the ability to elevate others while carrying significant influence. So Colin, thank you so much. We're so honored to have you here with us today and to hear your story. So on that note, how are you feeling firstly on the Kingdom Business Summit we just went to on the weekend? How are you feeling? It was so good to see you.
Indeed, Fidelis. Thank you for the very warm introduction. I guess firstly, all glory and honor and praise belongs to Him. I certainly cannot do all that that's required for me at the Kingdom Business Summit. I mean, it requires quite a lot of energy, enthusiasm, obviously, and so it was good to be there. But I must admit, I'm a little bit tired and a bit weary. But anything for the kingdom is a good thing. So I'm very grateful and just very glad that I was able to be there, not only to represent, obviously, my business, Inspire Realty, but to represent the Kingdom Entrepreneurs Network, which you have so beautifully introduced us. So I was manning 2 stands, and so, it was great to be there. And the big thing for me, Fidelis, is I've been going to the Kingdom Business Summit for 5 years, so it's a long time. And in fact, that's actually put me on a journey to start my business. When I started my business about 6 years ago, it was really the Kingdom Business Summit that opened me up to a whole new world of, being able to work with Christians specifically, And so I dedicate a large part of my business towards addressing, marketing, positioning myself to Christians. And so I'm just so grateful that the Kingdom Business Summit is sort of like full circle. It's come back not only as attendee, but now as a sponsor, as a gold sponsor. And not only that, I've taken on 2 sponsorships for the Kingdom Business Summit. So it's good to see friends, old friends, and to see you now being a
It's so
sponsor for the Kingdom
good.
Business Summit. Yeah.
So
So
good. It was like a reunion, wasn't it,
it
Colin?
is.
For all of us being there. Literally, it was a reunion for me and Brenda, meeting Brenda for the first time in flesh
Mm.
after, nearly 10 years. So I wanted to, we're going to unpack your business and what you do, Colin, but I just want to say, I can see right behind you, there's a lot of awards. And for some of the people listening or watching now, they just FYI and just giving you some background info. Colin and I actually know each other many years back, and I have seen his growth and I've seen all the amazing things that he's achieved. And I just wanted to ask you, you've got so many awards behind you, but there's one particular one, the fire right there. I want to
Mm.
know what that means for you because you've got so many awards. What makes Kingdom the Australian Christian Business Awards different this time?
Well, let me show and tell a little. Look at that.
It's
It's
beautiful.
Beautiful.
Kingdom Leader of the Year. And funnily enough, Fidelis, it is my absolute favorite award. As you may know already, I'm a multi-award winning buyer's agent and property investment advisor with over 80 awards. I've counted, it's 82.
Wow. Oh my
And
gosh.
I know. And this is the most meaningful simply because it is, who I am is my identity belongs to Christ. I'm a child of God made in his image. And so I identify myself as Christian first and foremost. And so the winning a Christian Business Award really highlights the fact that we are genuinely the salt of the earth and the light of the world. So for me, it's really just highlighting that as Christians, we can stand out in the marketplace. We can be a light and to showcase, the businesses within the Christian community that we can, make a difference. We can genuinely be, highlighted and to be shown to the community and to the public that we are achieving, really good businesses, or we're running really good businesses, holding good kingdom principles and biblical principles. So, and the other part about this award really is just really understanding that all glory, honor, and praise belongs to him. So it's really just moving from, ownership to stewardship. For me, I don't take this award very lightly. To be a kingdom leader means that I'm being put on on the light. People are looking at me, and so I've got to be responsible for stewarding this award well, and to be sharing the values and the vision of the Australian Christian Business Awards, and the vision of what you want to carry, which is to highlight the importance of Christian businesses in our community. So it reminds me that we can do something far greater, and as Christians we must be highlighted, and so very special.
Yeah. Colin, that is so exciting. I actually get goose flesh when you speak and you call out the salt and the light of the world. And obviously it takes a really special mindset, a kingdom mindset, to do what you have done and to achieve what you've done. And I how you have, how did you cultivate? What key kingdom mindset did you actually have to hold on to, or habit did you have to cultivate to be able to achieve the success in your business and even in your life as a Christian entrepreneur?
Yeah. So just to bring you back, I came as a migrant 26 years ago. And growing up in Asia, I think the general, feeling is that you don't really want to stand out. You get told what you're meant to do, and maybe it's a little bit confusing, but it's a lot to do with respecting your elders. So there's a lot less opportunity for you to really speak out and stand out. That's not the cultural norm. And so arriving in Australia 26 years ago, I found myself still following instructions, following the normal way of life. And I realized that, I'm playing a small game. There's in our culture, set in Australia, if you don't speak up and stand out, you don't really get seen, you don't get recognized. And perhaps it's also the tall poppy syndrome in Australia. So that, that makes it very difficult, I suppose, not only as a migrant who came here with a very thick Malaysian accent. I shied away from a lot of things, and I played a small game. So, I guess moving from that recognition of, not being known to, hey, hang on a minute, I'm a child of God. I am made in his image, and I've got to show that God is within me, and being able to stand out as Christian is a big thing for me. So I think for me, the biblical phrase that really stood out for me is Matthew 5:14-16. And it basically says, you are the light of the world. So why hide under a bushel? Why not stand on the hilltops and showcase not to be Christ, but to be Christ-like. It's almost like a mirror reflecting God's light onto others, and to honor him because of that. So it gave me permission when I read this passage that I am the light of the world. I'm made in his image. So why not show to the world that I'm his child? And to give people permission to shine, at the same time. So the more you let your light shine, or God's light shine, the more it gives people permission. And for me, it's being able to inspire a generation of migrants that come here with the dream of setting their life up in Australia to be able to stand out and speak up, not because we are, migrants, but because we are children of God, and that we deserve to be the best that we can be, in the marketplace.
Mm.
I love that, Colin. I mean, how many women in business, I'm sure Brenda and Fidelis, you've heard, oh, I don't really want to do that. I'm invisible, they feel invisible, yet to stand out, to speak up can be daunting for them. But standing on that verse that you just mentioned, Colin, I think really shows them, look, God has said, stand out, be the light for me. And you've done that so beautifully in your business. I know business has its ups and downs. Leadership challenges can have ups and downs too. But what the difference is with our businesses, with your business, Colin, is that we have a great God who we can lean on. So I wonder, is there any moment or time or situation, whether in your business or leadership, where you really saw God step forward, his hand on a situation that you thought, were it not for the grace of God, would I even have gone through this? I wonder if you can tell us something about faith in action.
Of course. And firstly, by the way, I just want to highlight all those kingdom women entrepreneurs out there. I get it. It takes a lot of courage to really put yourself on the map and to allow yourself to shine. That's why I want to acknowledge you, Fidelis, for really that takes a lot of boldness and courage to be able to go out into the marketplace and to showcase yourself. And it's a lot harder for women. I totally respect that. I mean, my wife works within the business of Inspire Realty, and there is a lot of struggle, for women to really step out into the light. But for me, it's being able to work together as a team that's actually made a big difference. I mean, some people know my story, but literally, I've been in the property industry for about 18 long years. And so I actually thought my calling or my assignment was to continue to my pathway of climbing the corporate ladder. I was the head of strategic property services of a very large property investment services company. Actually, off the back of that, I was the project sales director for a property developer. That's how Fidelis and I met in the first place. So I was at the peak of my corporate career, and genuinely, there was no reason for me to leave. I was earning good money. I was serving the Lord in many ways. I was part of my church community. In fact, I was heading the Business Connect group from the church community that I'm part of. So everything seemed to be going on really well, Anne-Marie. And then in 2019 in March of 2019, I got married to my beautiful wife, Rebecca. And she's been incredibly, I guess, supportive in what I choose to do. But I mean, she was actually a very well-known project architect in herself. I mean, she was one of the top 10 leading women in property. So she was climbing her career. I was on the peak of my career. Anyway, got married in March, and then in April, she fell pregnant. We got excited, and so it was a bit unexpected within a month of our marriage that she got pregnant. Anyway, cut a long story short, between March and October of 2019, She was going through her first term, second term, and towards the end of her second term, she said, "Well, honey, let's go on a holiday," because we didn't quite have a honeymoon. So we ended up going to New Caledonia for our baby moon, and we came back. That was sometime in October of 2019. And I remember walking into my workplace, and I got a knock on the door. Anyway, my director comes in and he says, "Colin, I'd like to come and see you." And I just knew something was happening. So I went over to his office. I sat down on this black leather couch and I allowed for him to obviously speak to me. And I think one of the first things he said was, "Colin, I really am so sorry to do this to you." He knew that my wife was 7 months pregnant and this was really important for me. But, business is business. He said that basically the business is going through a massive restructuring process and therefore my role was made redundant. And I share with you this, Anne Marie, because that is a massive turning point in my life. My plans, I thought was already measured and planned, but as we know, God's plans are never the same as what you planned to be. So we've got to be so, I guess, obedient and trusting on what He wants us to do. But in that moment of being made redundant, is very, very challenging. Having to go back and tell my wife, "Honey, I don't have a job now." That was daunting. It was stressful. I had anxiety. I had sleepless nights in terms of what my future is going to look like. And we had also agreed that my wife, Rebecca, was going to go on maternity leave within her 8th month of pregnancy. So here we are, both at the peak of our career. Within 30 days, we both had no jobs. And by that time, we had 7 mortgages with a 7-month-old baby. Very, very stressful. And those are the turning points in your life where you go, "Yeah, I've got to have full surrender that God has a plan for this." I was on my knees and I was just praying. I was literally like, "God, what do you want me to do? This is so not what I had intended it to be." And so that was a moment in time where I really saw God move in my life because He gave me the courage to then have this inspiration to go, well, maybe now is time. I was already 40 years old and I knew that it's now or never if I'm ever going to start a business. I've always had this business, desire to start my own business, this mindset, but who would have imagined, that this would be my pathway? Honestly, I wouldn't have imagined it to be. So on the 1st of January, 2020 is when I started Inspire Realty. And then my daughter was born on the 6th of January, 2020. And as you know, COVID happened in March.
Yes.
2020 was the most challenging year of my life, but God had, He already knew. He created us before we were conceived.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. That's so good. Oh my goodness. Again, I mean, it's so fitting that it's Inspire Realty because it really is so inspiring. And I love how God has His own plan, right? Like we'll have our plan, but He's got a bigger and much better plan for us. And so I love that testimony. And I love that you were, even in that space where, you feel like things have gone, like, I've been building this thing in my career and this is where I want to head, but you surrendered it to God and God showed up in those moments. And so I'm so glad that you continued, and I'm so glad that you've continued to build your business and it continues to grow. And I'm sure there are a lot of women who are listening now, Kingdom Women entrepreneurs, who might be at that verge where they're like in this moment of, what, do I keep going? I had a plan. Was my plan, but something happened and now I have to pivot. Something needs to change. What would be your encouragement for them if they're in that season?
Yeah, it's a good question, Fidelis. And may I say, I would have absolutely no idea this is God's plan for me. But what I do know with absolute certainty and clarity is that God was preparing me all these years to start my business. Because when you think about what I wouldn't even say I have achieved, for me, it's just genuine stewardship of the giftedness, I guess I'm very blessed with, I guess leadership, good communication skills. I've got a very large and vast network of people that have gotten to know me over the years, and everything just came to a point. So I would encourage those that are kind of umming and ahhing, not sure. I mean, obviously you've got to be very, very prayerful about this, and to be very sensitive about God's calling for you, because it can be confusing, obviously, in terms of which direction. But For me, it was a very, very clear sign that when I was made redundant, that something significant had to change. So I don't hope that on anybody, that you'd have to have like what I call a really Mack truck moment where, it hits you in your face and you go, oh my goodness gracious me, I've got no choice. And therefore the necessity is for me to do something. But I think we can do it a little bit more organically, and that is to be a little bit more discerning. I believe that God is preparing us for such a time like this when I started the business. So my encouragement is just keep at it. I believe that if God plants something in your heart, that it's probably a calling. You've just got to make sure you've got I guess, the clarity around it. I believe there's power in proximity. So one of the biggest things I had to do, and let's be totally frank, I didn't just start the business off the back of pure passion and encouragement. It was because I've had so many mentors in my life. I've been able to stand on the shoulders of those people, all Christians, thankfully. I was able to speak to them and got them to pray for me and say, look, I'm at a real junction in my life now. Do I go back? And I could have gone back and applied for a head of strategic, or I can apply for a GM role, or I could easily go back to that. And so speaking to a lot of my mentors who have known me for many, many years, it goes, Colin, you're an entrepreneur. You just didn't know that God was planning all this vision in your life. In fact, I've written it down and I made it very, very clear very early on. If you look at all my, I keep a journal on my vision on what I wanted to do, very clear from the very beginning that I've written the vision and I made it very, very plain. It's really from Habakkuk 2:2. And I had a whole list of things that I wanted to do. And now I look back on that list and I've achieved a vast majority of all the goals that I've written down. But it's being really, really sensitive to God, what had wanted me to do. And so it's not just you. I think it's being surrounded by people who knows you, that can pray with you, that would speak life into you. I had prophecy being said on myself as well. And you do, there's power in proximity. The people that you surround yourself with heavily influences what you think about. In fact, what you think about is predominantly what you think about. What you think about is what you talk about most of the time. And what you talk about is what you bring about. So I've spoken about life, about growth, about vision, about what it is that I want to do, which is literally to inspire a generation of Australians to steward their heart and money well, to steward their time, talent, and treasures, And so that vision has come to fruition now. It's been just really being really honest and being obedient and trusting to the Lord and the plans that He has for us.
Yes, so good. Well, I've got a lot more questions, but we'll save that for another interview with you. Would love to have you come back and share more of your story. But as we close, I've got one last question, and maybe I'll turn it over to Anne-Marie to close this off. But you know what? After the event, the 2025 Australian Christian Business Awards, after that event, I had at least a handful of ladies reach out to me and said, Fids, you know what? I was just in the brink of giving up. I just did not want to do this business thing anymore. However, someone nominated me and I received an email encouraging me. And you know what? I'm going to keep going. So the awards have been such a powerful encouragement. And I just wanted to ask you, Colin, for the ladies that have been putting it off in terms of nominations and nominating themselves even. Would you speak on that a little bit, Colin, and just encourage our ladies?
Absolutely. I would say you need to be a light of the world. And let me give you a biblical verse on this. And it really is taken from Mark 4:3-8. I have applied for hundreds of awards. What you're seeing is the 82 awards that I've been a finalist and I've been a winner. There are hundreds of other awards that I didn't make it as a finalist at all, not even pre-selected. So I've got to be in it to win it. But here is the analogy, right? It's the parable of the seed and the sower. We're all given a handful of seeds in our life, and this could be your wisdom, your skill, your God-given talent, the fruits of the Spirit, whatever it is. That's the bunch of seeds that you have. And in the parable of the seed and the sower, the farmer goes around and starts to, obviously plant his seed. And as he walks along the pathway, we know the story. Some of the seeds fell on the path, and that all got dried up, and because it's not planted on good soil. Some seeds were scattered in weeds, and so obviously it grew a little bit, and then the weeds just choked it. Some was planted in just not good soil. But then you've got to be intentional. These seeds, you've got to plant it in good soil. And I would assert that the Australian Christian Business Awards is good soil. Why? Because there's a community of other Christians out there that will be there. There'll be sponsors, there'll be partners, there'll be CEOs, there'll be authors, there'll be musicians, there'll be creatives. So you want to be surrounded by these Christian entrepreneurs who've had and allowed their light to shine, to be encouraged. So you be an inspiration, but at the same time, be inspired as well. My hope is that you will plant these seeds, put yourself up in an application. Who's to know? I mean, you've got to be in it to win it. And look, it's the process, and here is what it is, right? I love the questions, and this is why the Australian Christian Business Awards is so vastly different to, let's say, the Australian, I'll show you this one. This is my second favorite one because it's the Logies of small business. But if you look at the difference between the questions that are asked, one is very secular. What is your profit? What is your turnover? What is your revenue? What is your difference? But then the Australian Christian Business Awards is, how have you brought faith into your business? How have you made your business your ministry, your marketplace your ministry? And how is it your mission field? How have you allowed the light of God to shine within your marketplace and within your business and workplace? So I think it highlights, I love answering these questions because you introspectively go, actually, how have I? How have I? And you really be honest with yourself. And so not only has it given me such insight into my business, because there are certainly power in questions, it's given me a whole new appreciation of what it means to run a kingdom business and to be a kingdom entrepreneur. So plant these seeds on good soil, because who's to know, one day these seeds with the same potential planted in good soil will yield you 30, 60, 90 fold. The harvest is really full, but the workers are limited at the moment. So go out there, multiply your seeds, go out there and just, be part of the community of kingdom entrepreneurs that will be there at the Australian Christian Business Awards.
So good, Colin. I'm sure the other ladies here today feel we've been through a masterclass. There are so many wonderful nuggets that we can take away. And I think getting back to women entrepreneurs, a lot of them can feel alone. But one of the things that really stuck out was you said you have surrounded yourself and you reached out to mentors, other people who could pray alongside you. You prayed yourself, and then you took action. You took steps, and I think there comes a time where we need to step out with faith. If we feel that God has placed something on our heart, a desire, it's probably because he's knitted something in us and he wants us to take that step. And so had you sat back and thought, well, Lord, if it's your will that I win these awards, God is not going to complete those award, documents for you. Complete it. You need to be in it to win it, and of course, surround yourself with other wonderful people. Love everything that you said, and Colin, we just, on behalf of all of the hosts here, we pray that God will continue to bless you, your wife, your business, the clients that you work with, the businesses that your suppliers, because as we look at it from kingdom perspective, it's not just the business owner or the businesses, but God wants us to be good stewards as we lead our businesses on his behalf, and that prospers the entire community of people that come into contact with your business and ultimately the community at large. So we just pray that over your business as well. So thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for listening. We hope you've been encouraged by today's message. If you'd like to find out more about how you can work with a Christian business coach and to grow your business and be part of our free KWE community, go to kingdomwomenentrepreneurs.com.
And if you'd like to learn more about how to start a kingdom-focused podcast so you can build your visibility and impact in a much bigger way, go to podcastingwithpurpose.com/kingdom podcast. And we would love you to leave some feedback over on our Apple Podcast channel. We'd really appreciate it.